I've been thinking of what to say this evening. We're still at the dialysis center. Um, they gave my hello. They gave my wife some Benadryl to let her body rest and get her to sleep for a few moments, and that seems to be working. So while it's working, which is not going to be for too long, I'll do something here. I think earlier I did something about essentially how we sometimes reminisce about things and our memories put the good things, but they don't include the bad things, and we make our decisions from that, and it could be pretty catastrophic. But for right now, I guess I could talk a little bit more politics. We've just finished the longest shutdown of government in our nation's history. People were threatened, was not being paid. Air traffic controllers weren't being paid, which to me had actually put the whole system in danger, because the whole thing about it is that compensation for work done. Yes, it's the American thing, I guess, to sacrifice for your country, but that's not why you got this job. You got this job because essentially you were best at your position, and you were to be compensated in like manner, and that didn't happen. Now, the parties blame each other. Democrats blame the Republicans, because the Republicans, of course, they do have the majority. But they did not agree, and still haven't agreed, to trying to lower costs of health care, which are slated to triple or double by the end of this year, which is a scary thought to those who are living on insurance and taking care of people. And I can understand that now, because I'm taking care of somebody who needs a caretaker. I'm hoping is that essentially my strength in my neck will return, and at least for a little bit, and I'll be able to at least mitigate that cost. But I'm not in the position that many people are in. Many people are in much worse position than I am, and they really do need to have low-cost insurance. Now, the Republicans are saying if you're talking about low-cost insurance, that must mean that Obamacare has failed, and they make sure that they label it as Obamacare, because essentially, if the government has to supply supply a certain amount of money to bring the cost down, then what the government has actually done is become complicit in the destruction of what should be supporting itself. Now, one can take that tack, and they could be right. But the Lord had never, especially with Christ, there was always those who were sick. There was always those who were poor. He didn't say forget the poor. He didn't say forget those who are sick. He said we should take care of those who are sick. And there's a scripture that comes with it, said when he's going to judge people based upon what they do to others. And it talks about how essentially he will say to those on the right, when you were sick, you came and visited me. Didn't say you healed me, but you visited me. At least you paid more attention to me and gave me that tender, loving care. If I was in prison, you visited me. Well, whatever the cost was, they didn't lock the key and throw away the key and then say, you have to do it on your own. They actually helped someone who were in prison. Those who were poor, they were able to get help, and on and on and on. But then it was as if they'd done it to Jesus. They said, well, because they asked you, when did we do any of this stuff to you? And Jesus said, as you've done it to these, my littlest ones, to the least of these, you've done it unto me. And which lets you know that if we are in the process of trying to make sure people don't get real sick and those who are sick can recover, then why shouldn't the government, if it's agreed to by the people, to subsidize some of the insurance? Now, we don't want to, of course, have the insurance completely subsidized. I mean, there has to be some cost that's taken. And so that's why premium costs have been so low. But the Republicans are saying that essentially they should be able to get insurance on their own. That was the problem before the Affordable Care Act. There was no getting insurance on your own. Because when you got it, it was too expensive. So you try to rough it out and say, well, maybe, or I won't take these pills that they're charging me for, and then maybe I can make it to my next doctor's appointment or something. But there is a lot of problems that we have with what has been agreed to. And it was an agreement not because most Democrats pummeled the Republicans into agreeing with them. No, that wasn't the case at all. What happened was there were a few Democrats who obviously were very afraid of, if they didn't do anything, they would lose votes for their own districts. And I can understand that. You want to remain in the position of power that you can help to run the country. I'm not talking about it in a bad sense. It's just the way it is. But the bulk of the Democratic Party felt betrayed by the actions of these people, because they, plus the Republicans, were able to then secure a particular amount of care, or a particular subsidies, or particular concessions that they would do to cause the government to go forth. So now that the government is back again, and people are being paid now, don't have to worry about SNAP benefits and so on, we still have the looming problem of health insurance. And the problem, Saints, is that instead of following what the Lord is asking us to do, is to be kind. I'm not saying you give all your money to someone because you don't have that money. And I understand being taxed for something that you may feel should best fit in private government or private companies. I understand that too. But the issue that comes forth, and we have to address this issue, is that there are going to be people who are sick, people who are afflicted with something, whether it's mental illness, whether it's illness due to drugs, or whatever happens. If those insurances become so high that people can't pay for them, then we're going to have a slew of acute conditions that are going to pretty much destroy us, destroy our health system. I will tell you of what took place, that what we are suffering through right now. In years past, we used to have a mental health system that, although it wasn't the best, it kept those who needed help inside institutions. Some people didn't like that because they didn't think of the idea of being in an institution. But at the same time, you were kept safe from harm from others and safe from having harm to others. But mental health was not something that was very popular at the time of Reagan. I remember this time because essentially we had, as I think I said before, we had two major mental health centers in at least Southern California. One was in Norwalk, called the Metropolitan Institutional Center. And they've served all of metropolitan Los Angeles, maybe into Orange County as well as those that were in the Inland Empire. The other one was situated in Camarillo, where you come down from the hill that it's the 101 that's coming down, and as it goes down, it passes through Camarillo and ends up in the cities of Oxnard and so on. Ventura, yes. But when the government under Reagan withdrew assistance for mental health, it wasn't just a matter of saving some dollars. What happens now is that all these people who were cared for are now thrown into the street. And be honest, many of them is what makes up the homeless problem we have today. People don't want to say that, but it's true, because many of the people that are on the street have serious mental health conditions that nobody is treating. And they're saying it's a problem for the criminal courts, it's a problem for the Department of Housing, it's a problem for all these things. But all of these mentally ill people that need help, they can't get help because the organization that was supposed to give them help blocked it off. You can see the same thing taking place on a much more destructive scale. That if people are not given affordable health care, then we can see people going broke in the streets because they have to choose between, or they're dying because they have to choose between getting what they need for their condition, between that and living in a stable place. See, that's terrible. That's terrible. And of course, we applaud those areas that don't have large numbers of people in that condition. But it's just like with those that about mental health. You're not going to see a lot of mental health crisis in places like Kansas and Colorado and Utah and Montana, because essentially they keep it to themselves. But in urban areas, that doesn't happen. So that's why a lot of them have been, and even now it's been an ongoing situation, whereas, and I still remember my friend Kurt. Many of you that know me know Kurt or knew Kurt. He was an excellent person, and he was a Christian, and he loved his faith, but he also had mental health problems, and essentially he did not want to take his medicines. But there was no one to make him do it, and he had a family. So he left his family, became homeless, went up the coast all the way to Seattle, and then couldn't find happiness there. Then worked his way down till he got to a particular place in San Clemente, right next to the Marine base, Camp Pendleton. And one day he was agitated at something, and someone called the police, the sheriff. And the sheriff was there. And there was someone that was trying with their best to calm the situation. probably a healthcare professional, but there wasn't enough of them. It was more of the police than of the healthcare professionals. Well, you can imagine what happened. My friend Kurt was shot and killed by those sheriffs. I'm not even blaming the sheriffs, but I'm blaming what we have put our preference at. And we have lost a lot of people, which are burdening other areas of our society. I'm not telling you to go up and vote for health care subsidies or what do you call it, Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. It's up to you. But just know that if we don't pay attention to the health of our people, and those especially who can least afford to have increases in their healthcare costs, it's going to be terrible, saints. And people will look around to blame this and will blame that, but when we could have helped it, we didn't. That's the basic thing. God bless you and may He keep you. And one thing I'll just say, I'm so glad that they have this particular dialysis center that is paid for by my insurance or her and my wife's insurance through Kaiser and Medicare. But what if you couldn't afford this? My wife would die eventually. She would die unless the Lord miraculously kick-started her kidneys. But in the meantime, between miracles, give God credit for putting grace in people that we have enough to cover what ails us. God bless you. May He keep you. Love you all in Jesus' name. Take care.